Track 5.
So a company's balance sheet, in principle, is intended to give you the value of a company's business. But in practice, some assets are very easy to value and some are very difficult to value. So if you hold some shares in another company or something, or you hold some money in a bank account, this is very easy to value. On the other hand, if your assets comprise research and development or people for that matter, then it's in principle very difficult to put a value on those things. And when you measure the profit of a company, what you're trying to do is measure a change in value. So the difference between what a company is worth at the beginning of a year and what it is worth at the end of a year is the profit that it makes or the loss that it makes. And if it's difficult to measure the value of assets in the first place, it's also difficult to measure whether a company is making profit or not. Whether a company is making profit or not. So an example might be, take an airport and a runway on an airport. Well, what's a runway worth would be one question. You could estimate that maybe. You could estimate how long you think the airport will operate for, how many planes will land on it, what the value of one airport will be, what the value of Heathrow would be in comparison with the value of Gatwick, for example. But it's actually quite a subjective thing to measure. And then you've got to figure out, well, how long is this thing going to last? Because every year you want to take the depreciation on that runway and charge it against profit. You want to take a reduction in the value of the runway. And if you think the runway will last 25 years, then you will depreciate it 4 times as quickly as if you think it will last 100 years. So there's lots of estimation and judgment in accounting because the value of an asset depends upon the future uncertain events, and those uncertain events, by their very nature, can't be estimated very easily.
Track 14.
The second effect is whether we think unfettered free markets alone can ensure the long-term optimal allocation of resources to long-term economic growth. Markets are very important. I'm not denying that, but so is the role of government to actually help markets work better. Often economists talk about notions of market failure or the fact that markets are not working properly. But let's just think properly. But let's just think of some of the areas where governments should want to intervene. They may want to spend money on education. It's very important. Educated workforce. People may not invest enough in their education if they had to pay for it themselves. And many people wouldn't be able to access the resources, wouldn't be able to get the credit. Okay, so it's the importance of education. Similar things apply to health. We may not actually buy enough health if we had left to buy it ourselves. We had left to buy it ourselves. Let's think about developing new products and technologies. Development of new products and technologies is highly risky and highly expensive and highly uncertain outcomes, but possibly very big outcomes for the economy as a whole. So it's understandable if firms do not invest in very early stage technologies. And because it's very expensive for them, there's a good chance they won't succeed, and if they do succeed, somebody else will be able to copy and replicate and benefit from their effects. From their effects. These are positive externality effects of government intervention. If government helps to commercialize science, develop new ideas, that those products can then at a later stage be developed and employed by the market and by businesses. Employed by the market and by businesses. I think there are many areas. This is about government in terms of economic growth. I think it's mainly in terms of the areas of education, particularly again in the areas of transport and networks and infrastructure, and increasingly in helping develop science and helping commercialize science and bring those ideas, which ideas ultimately drive long-term economic growth, and encouraging those ideas from the science base to become new products, new services, better ways of doing things will make economic growth happen in the future.